Welcome to This is Thailand. I'm your host, and today we're talking about something every prospective expat needs to hear: the real cost of living in Thailand. Not the numbers you see in those budget breakdown videos, but what actually happens when you try to build a life here on a tight budget. This is the story of Vince, a 61-year-old former scaffolder from Portland, Oregon. He spent 35 years climbing steel in the rain, saved every dollar he could, did all his research, and came to Thailand with a plan. He'd watched the YouTube videos, run the numbers, joined the Facebook groups. He was convinced he'd cracked the code, that everyone else had missed common sense, and discipline would let him live like a king on $1,800 a month. But 2 years later, Vince learned something those budget videos never mention. Something that creeps up on you so gradually you don't notice until your bank account is screaming. What happened next changed everything he thought he knew about retirement in Thailand. And this one's going to stick with you because it's not about bar girls or business scams. It's about something far more common and far more insidious. Here's his story, in his own words. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. By the time I was 58, my body was done. Absolutely done. 35 years as a scaffolder in Portland, good union job, solid benefits, the kind of work that let me save money and build a life. But the cost was brutal. My knees sounded like gravel in a blender every time I climbed a ladder. My lower back was a constant throb that got worse every year. Some mornings I'd wake up and barely be able to move for the first hour. The final straw came on a Tuesday morning in February 2023. 6 in the morning, standing in the rain because it's always raining in Portland, looking up at another 12-story scaffold job. Cold, wet, my back already aching before I'd even started. And something inside me just broke. Not physically, though God knows that was coming. Something mental. I stood there getting soaked and thought, I can't do this anymore. I literally cannot do this for one more day. So I walked off the site, got in my truck, drove home, and never went back. My union brothers thought I'd lost my mind. Called me up asking what the hell I was doing. Was I having some kind of breakdown? Did I need help? But I wasn't crazy. I'd been planning this for 2 years. I just hadn't told anyone because I knew they'd try to talk me out of it. Here's the thing about construction work. It pays well if you're union, but it destroys you. Every guy I knew over 55 was dealing with something. Bad knees, bad backs, bad shoulders, hearing loss, you name it. I'd watch guys work until they literally couldn't anymore, then retire at 65 with bodies so broken they couldn't enjoy a single day of it. I wasn't doing that. I'd done the math. I had my pension lined up to kick in at 62. I had $130,000 saved, not a fortune, but decent. But here's the problem: Portland. The cost of living there is absolutely insane. My apartment alone was $1,800 a month for a one-bedroom. Add food, insurance, a truck payment, utilities, and I was burning through $3,000 a month just existing. There was no way I could afford to stop working and stay in Portland. The money would be gone in 3 years. But Thailand? Thailand made sense on paper. I'd been lurking in expat forums for 2 years by that point, watching YouTube videos, reading blog posts, joining Facebook groups. All these guys talking about living in paradise for a fraction of US costs. Rent for $200 a month. Street food for $1. Healthcare that was actually affordable. The numbers were everywhere. $1,000 a month if you were frugal. $1,500 if you wanted to be comfortable, maybe $2,000 if you wanted to live well. I approached it like a construction project. Spreadsheets, research, budget breakdowns. I watched dozens of those cost of living videos on YouTube. Guys walking through their expenses line by line, showing receipts, being totally transparent. Or so I thought. I joined every expat Facebook group I could find: Chiang Mai expats, Thailand retirement, budget living Thailand, and I read everything. And here's what I convinced myself. All those guys complaining about money, about Thailand being expensive, about getting blindsided by costs, they were idiots. They were living like tourists instead of locals. Eating Western food, living in fancy condos, drinking in bars every night, chasing bar girls. No financial discipline. I wasn't going to make those mistakes. I was smarter than that. I had common sense. I'd been managing job site budgets for 35 years. I knew how to stick to a plan. In late 2023, I did a reconnaissance trip, 2 weeks in Thailand, split between Chiang Mai and Hua Hin, stayed in $15 a night hostels, ate street food, rode around on rented scooters. I had a notebook where I tracked every single expense. Coffee, 40 baht, pad thai, 60 baht. Studio apartment listings, 8,000 to 12,000 baht. Scooter rental, 3,000 baht a month. I sat in those hostels every night running the numbers. Rent, 8,000 baht, that's 230. Food, maybe 10,000 baht if I ate local 300. Scooter, 3,000 baht 90. Insurance, utilities, gym membership, visa costs. I built it all out. My conclusion: I could live comfortably on $1,800 a month, maybe push it to $2,000 if I wanted some cushion. And I had enough saved to bridge the gap until my pension kicked in at 62. After that, I'd be set for life. The pension would cover my expenses with money left over. My savings would just sit there growing as a safety net. Thailand wasn't just cheaper. It was validation that I'd been right to walk off that job site, right to quit the grind, right to bet on myself and my planning instead of listening to everyone telling me to stick it out until 65. I came back to Portland in December 2023 and started tying up loose ends. Sold my truck. Sold most of my stuff. Gave notice on my apartment. My union brothers thought I was making the biggest mistake of my life. My ex-wife, we'd been divorced for 8 years by then, called me up to tell me I was an idiot. Even guys in the Facebook groups were skeptical when I posted about my budget. Wait until you've been here 6 months, they'd say. We'll see how that works out for you. But I dismissed all of it. They were bitter. They were jealous. They'd made mistakes I wasn't going to make. On January 15, 2024, I bought a one-way ticket to Chiang Mai. One big backpack, my laptop, $130,000 in my bank account, and a spreadsheet that proved I'd figured out what everyone else had missed. Common sense. That's all it took. I had no idea what was coming. I landed in Chiang Mai on a Tuesday afternoon in January 2024. Walking off that plane into the heat was like stepping into a different world. Warm air, no rain, no steel beams waiting for me. Just sunshine and palm trees and the smell of street food coming from somewhere beyond the terminal. I felt like I'd made it. Found a studio apartment my second day there. Soi off Hue Ki Road, nothing fancy but functional. 8,000 baht, a month $230. The landlady was this older Thai woman who barely spoke English, but we worked it out. 1 month deposit, 1 month advance, done. I moved in with my backpack and felt like a genius. The place was basic, I mean really basic, no AC, just a ceiling fan that sounded like a helicopter taking off. Squat toilet, which I hadn't really thought about during my reconnaissance trip, hard bed that felt like sleeping on plywood. Street noise came through the walls like they were made of paper motorbikes, dogs, someone's TV blaring Thai soap operas at all hours. But I told myself this was authentic. This was living like a local, not some pampered Farang in a fancy condo paying triple for the same space. I was doing it right. I set up a system immediately, bought a notebook at 7-Eleven, and started tracking every single baht like I used to track materials on a job site. Coffee at the cart near my soa, 25 baht. Pad Thai from the lady with the street stall, 60 baht. Bottle of water, 7 baht. Laundry service, 40 baht per kilo. I wrote it all down. Rented a scooter from a shop down the street, 3,000 baht, a month $90. The guy barely asked for my license, just took my passport copy and handed me the keys. I hadn't ridden a motorcycle since I was in my 20s, but it came back quick. Figured out the traffic flow, learned to go with it instead of fighting it. Saved me a fortune compared to tuk-tuks or song queues. Joined a local gym, one of those no-frills Thai boxing places. Not some expat fitness center, 1,000 baht a month, maybe $30. Heavy bags, free weights, no AC, just fans blowing hot air around. Perfect. My back and knees were already feeling better without the daily punishment of scaffolding. I could actually work out again without everything screaming at me. For food, I stuck to street vendors and local places. Cow pad for breakfast, 50 baht. Somtam and sticky rice for lunch, 60 baht. Pad krap pao for dinner, maybe 70 baht. I was eating 3 meals a day for less than $6 total. Sometimes I'd splurge on mupang from the night market or grab a Leo beer for 50 baht, but mostly I kept it tight. End of month 1, I sat down and tallied everything up. Rent, 8,000 baht. Scooter, 3,000. Gym, 1,000. Food, about 6,000. Utilities were included in rent. Visa run to immigration, 1,900 baht for the 30-day extension. Miscellaneous stuff, toiletries, water, laundry, random purchases, maybe 2,000 baht. Total, 21,900 baht. About 640. I damn near laughed out loud. My budget said 1,800 a month, and I'd done it for 640. Even adding in some cushion for things I'd forgotten, I was looking at maybe 1,400 total. I was crushing it. Month 2 was more the same. I'd settled into a routine. Wake up without an alarm for the first time in 35 years. Coffee at the cart. Scooter ride to the gym. Lunch at the same Somtam place where the lady started recognizing me. Afternoons, I'd explore, ride out to temples, check out the night bazaar, sit in cafes with good Wi-Fi, and watch YouTube videos about other people doing exactly what I was doing. Met some other expats. There's this scene in Chiang Mai, especially around Nimen and the old city westerners who've been here a while, usually older guys, sitting in the same cafes every day. I started recognizing faces, got into conversations. And here's where I made my first mistake, though I didn't know it yet. I started talking about my budget. I'd post in the Chiang Mai expats Facebook group. Actual expenses, month 1. Here's how I'm doing it. Street food, local gym, modest apartment, scooter Todd. This isn't hard if you just live like a local instead of trying to recreate your Western lifestyle. The responses were mixed. Some guys were supportive, saying good for you, that's the way to do it. But a lot of them pushed back. One guy said, wait until the honeymoon phase ends. Another one said, give it 6 months, then we'll talk. Someone else said, you're not accounting for medical costs, visa costs, the fact that you'll get sick of street food eventually. I dismissed them. Bitter expats who'd overspent and were now salty about it. Guys who couldn't handle living outside their comfort zone. I had this worked out. Month 2 expenses came in at $550. Still well under budget. That's when I decided to start the YouTube channel. I've been watching these budget breakdown videos for years, and I realized most of them were either incomplete or dishonest. Guys would say they lived on $1,000 a month but wouldn't mention they had online income, or they'd gloss over expenses, or they were clearly living rough in ways that weren't sustainable long term. I figured I could be the straight shooter, the blue-collar guy telling it like it is. No bullshit, no hidden income streams, just a regular dude showing exactly how to retire in Thailand on a working man's savings. Called it Straight Talk Thailand. Filmed my first video on my phone, just me sitting in my apartment talking to the camera. Walked through my actual expenses, showed my notebook, explained my philosophy. You don't need a fancy condo. You don't need to eat Western food every day. You don't need bar girls or the expat party scene. Just common sense and discipline. Posted it to YouTube and shared it in a few Facebook groups. Got maybe 200 views in the first week. Some likes, some supportive comments. A few guys saying the same thing they'd said before, wait 6 months, we'll see. But I also got some hate. People saying I was being cheap, that I'd burn out, that I wasn't really living, just existing. One guy said I was setting people up for failure by making it sound too easy. Another said my budget was unrealistic and I was either lying or leaving things out. I responded to all of them. I'm not lying, this is my actual life. Here's the receipts, here's the reality. You guys are just mad because you didn't do the research. Made a second video in month 3, same format, walking through expenses, doubling down on the philosophy, started getting a few subscribers. Maybe 300 views per video. The algorithm wasn't picking me up, but I didn't care. I was documenting the truth. And the truth felt good. Really good. I was living in Chiang Mai. The weather was perfect, warm days, cool evenings, no Portland rain turning everything gray. My body was healing. I could walk without my back seizing up. I could sleep through the night without knee pain waking me up. I was meeting people, exploring temples, taking weekend trips up to Pai or over to Chiang Rai on my scooter. There were these moments, sitting at a cafe in the old city, eating mango sticky rice for 80 baht, watching the sunset behind Doi Suthep, where I felt this overwhelming sense of validation. I've been right. About everything. About quitting my job. About Thailand. About the budget. About common sense being all you needed. Everyone back in Portland grinding away in the rain for another 7 years until they could retire with broken bodies. They were the suckers. The guys in the Facebook groups saying I'd fail, they just made bad choices. The YouTube commenters saying I was being unrealistic. They were projecting their own failures onto me. I was winning. I'd beaten the system. Month 3 expenses, 1,620. Right in line with my projections. I remember sitting in my apartment one night in late March, ceiling fans spinning above me, listening to the street noise and the neighbor's TV, updating my spreadsheet. I'd been in Thailand for 10 weeks and I'd spent less than 5,000 total. At this rate, my 130,000 would last me 26 years. I'd be 85 years old before I ran out of money, and by then my pension would have been covering my expenses for 23 years. The math was beautiful, clean, perfect. I made another YouTube video, called it something like 3 months in Thailand, the budget breakdown no one else will give you. Went through everything, showed my apartment, my scooter, the street food stalls I frequented, the gym, talked about how the first 3 months had validated everything I'd planned, ended the video with a line I thought was pretty good. You don't need a lot of money to live well in Thailand. You just need to not be an idiot. Posted it. Went to bed feeling like I'd figured out something most people never would. Looking back now, I can see that was the high water mark. That was the moment where everything was still working according to plan, where the budget was holding, where I still believed my own hype. I had no idea what was about to happen. No idea that the heat was coming, that the honeymoon phase the bitter expats had warned me about was about to end, that every single one of those reasonable adjustments I was about to make would be another step toward the financial reality I'm living with now. But in March 2024, sitting in that studio with my spreadsheet and my smug YouTube channel, I thought I'd won. I hadn't won anything, I'd just set myself up for the fall. April hit Chiang Mai like a furnace door swinging open. Dry season, hot season, whatever you want to call it, it was brutal. The temperature went from warm to absolutely punishing 25 degrees during the day, sometimes pushing 100. My studio apartment with no AC turned into a sauna. The ceiling fan just moved hot air around. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning drenched in sweat, sheets soaked, feeling like I was sleeping in an oven. The squat toilet became torture. Every morning, my knees screaming as I tried to balance over that porcelain hole. Remember, I'd spent 35 years climbing scaffolding. My knees were already shot before I got here. 3 months of squatting every time I needed to use the bathroom, and they were getting worse, not better. Street noise that had seemed charming in January was now keeping me up all night. Dogs barking at 2 a.m., motorbikes revving at 5 a.m., my neighbor's TV blasting Thai news at full volume at 6 a.m. One was wearing earplugs every night and still waking up exhausted. And the food. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. Street food in Thailand is incredible when you're eating it once in a while. But when you're eating it 3 meals a day, every single day, for 3 months straight, it gets old. Real old. And I started getting sick. Nothing major, just food poisoning every couple weeks. Spend 24 hours on that squat toilet feeling like death. Then recover and go right back to the same vendors, because what else was I going to do? Month 4, I started making what I called reasonable adjustments. First was the apartment. I told myself I'd tough it out, that AC was a luxury, that I was just being soft. But I wasn't sleeping. I was miserable. My back was hurting again from the hard bed, my knees were getting worse from the squat toilet, and I was genuinely worried about heat stroke. So I went looking. Found a place in a quieter soy near Santitham. 1,000 baht a month, 450 proper Western toilet. AC unit in the bedroom. Softer bed, actual hot water in the shower, thicker walls so I couldn't hear every motorbike that went by. I told myself this was still cheap, way below my budget, totally sustainable. And you know what? It was. 450 a month for a decent apartment is nothing compared to Portland. But that's not the point. The point is the pattern had started, the upgrades, the lifestyle creep. I just didn't see it yet. Moved in at the end of April. First night with AC, sleeping on a real mattress, using a toilet I didn't have to squat over. I felt human again. Told myself this was the right call. Health is wealth. You can't put a price on sleep and basic comfort. Month 4 expenses, 2,100. Higher than before, but I rationalized it as moving costs and one-time expenses. Around this time, I started hanging out with other expats more. There's this guy, Dave, British guy in his 60s, been in Chiang Mai for 5 years. Met him at a cafe in Niman. We got to talking, and he invited me to join him and some other guys for lunch. They took me to this place that did proper Western breakfast. Eggs, bacon, toast, real coffee. Cost me 250 baht, about $7. 3 times what I'd been spending on breakfast. But man, after 3 months of Calpad and street vendor coffee, it tasted like heaven. Dave and the other guys started ribbing me about my street food routine. One of them said, "Mate, eating street food every single day is actually kinda grim when you've been here a year. You'll see." Another guy said, "You can't live like a monk forever. This isn't a 2-week vacation. It's your life now." And here's the thing, they were right. I wasn't on vacation. This was my retirement, my actual life. Was I really going to eat 60 baht pad thai for dinner every single night for the next 20 years? Was that living or just existing? So I started mixing it up. Western breakfast twice a week at that cafe, 500 baht. Burger and fries for lunch at a place near my new apartment, 200 baht. Pizza on Friday nights, 350 baht. I was still eating Thai food most of the time, still being budget conscious, but I was giving myself some variety, some quality of life. Month 5, my food costs jumped from 6,000 baht to about 12,000 baht. Double. But I felt better. Wasn't getting food poisoning as often. Had more energy. It seemed worth it. Then came the scooter accident. Month 6, June 2024. I was riding through an intersection near Chang Fuit Gate and a truck just clipped me, not even going fast, just merged without looking and knocked me off balance. I went down hard on my shoulder. Scooter skidded across the pavement. I was okay. Bruised, shaken up, nothing broken, but the scooter was scratched to hell. The rental company charged me 15,000 baht for damages. 4 damages. I tried to argue, but they had photos in the contract of every scratch, and these new ones were clearly from the accident. I paid. But more than the money, I was scared. Traffic in Chiang Mai is no joke. I got uncomfortable on the scooter, maybe too comfortable, and that accident reminded me that one wrong move could put me in a Thai hospital, or worse. I was 59 years old with bad knees and a bad back. If I went down at speed, I might not get back up. So I decided to rent a car. Just for a month, I told myself. Just until I felt safe again. Found a place that rented a little Nissan for 14,000 baht a month, 400. The convenience was incredible. No more getting soaked when it rained. No more showing up places sweaty and exhausted from riding in 95-degree heat. No more worrying about getting clipped by a truck. I could run errands, go to the store, drive up to Doi Suthep without arriving half dead from the climb. Month 7, I kept the car. Told myself it was temporary, that I'd go back to the scooter eventually, but I never did. The car became permanent. Another adjustment. Another upgrade. Another chunk of budget that just disappeared. By the end of month 7, July 2024, I sat down to do my accounting. Savings had gone from $130,000 when I arrived to $113,000. I'd burned through $17,000 in 7 months. That was $2,400 a month average. I stared at that number for a long time. My budget said $1,800. I was spending $2,400. That's 33% over budget. Not terrible, but not good either. And my pension still hadn't kicked in yet. The application was stuck in some bureaucratic delay. Wouldn't start until I turned 62 next February. I told myself it was fine. First-year expenses are always higher. Settling in costs. Learning curve. I'd made some upgrades for health and safety reasons, but they were all reasonable. The nicer apartment was still cheap by Western standards. The car was a temporary safety measure. The food variety was necessary for my health. Still way cheaper than Portland. Still winning. But I'd stopped making YouTube videos. Couldn't really film a video called Living in Thailand for $1,000 a month when I was spending $2,400. I thought about doing a video on realistic first-year costs or why the budget increases. But every time I started scripting it, I could hear the comments already. Told you so. Wait until year 2. You were so smug about your $1,400 budget. I wasn't ready to admit I'd been wrong. Wasn't ready to give those bitter expats in the Facebook groups the satisfaction, so I just stopped posting. Told myself I'd start up again once I got my spending back under control. Once year 2 proved to be leaner like I was sure it would be. The cracks were showing, but I wasn't looking at them. Each individual change made perfect sense. Better apartment for health reasons. Car for safety reasons. Better food for nutrition reasons. All logical. All justified. I couldn't see that I was doing exactly what every other expat had done. The ones I'd mocked. The ones who'd warned me. The ones whose comments I'd dismissed as bitter and jealous. I was becoming them. One reasonable adjustment at a time. Month 8, August 2024, I met Ploy. I was sitting in a cafe in Niman, one of the nicer places with good Wi-Fi and actual espresso, working on my laptop. She was at the next table over, reading a book in English. We made eye contact a few times. Eventually, I said something about the book. She smiled. We started talking. Her name was Ploy. She was 34, worked in administration at Chiang Mai University, spoke excellent English. Grew up in Chiang Mai, had a degree from a Bangkok university, came from what she described as a middle-class Thai family. She was attractive, friendly, easy to talk to. And here's what mattered to me. What I made sure to establish right away in my own head, she wasn't a bar girl. She had a real job, a real education, a real life. This wasn't one of those situations I'd read about in the Facebook groups. She was a good girl. We exchanged line contacts, started messaging, met up for coffee a few days later, then dinner that weekend. I'd been in Thailand for 7 months at that point, and I was lonely as hell. The expat social scene was fine for hanging out at cafes and complaining about visa runs, but it wasn't real connection. I missed having someone to talk to, someone who cared how my day went, someone to make plans with. Ploy filled that gap immediately. She showed me a different side of Chiang Mai, took me to restaurants I never would have found, little Thai places that weren't touristy but weren't street vendors either. Decent food, reasonable prices, clean. We'd go for drives up to viewpoints in the mountains, visit hot springs, check out temples I'd never heard of, weekend trips to Pai, to Chiang Rai, to little villages in the countryside. And yeah, I was paying for everything. Dinners, gas, hotels, activities. But I told myself this was normal dating. In the States, the guy pays, right? This wasn't exploitation, this was just how it worked. And honestly, she was good company. Made me feel less like a lonely old farang drifting around Thailand and more like I actually had a life here. The costs added up quick though. Dinner for 2, at a decent restaurant, 1,200 baht. That's 35 to 50. We were eating out 3-4 times a week. Weekend trip to Pai, maybe 8,000 to 10,000 baht once you factored in the hotel, meals, gas, entry fees to things. That's $230 to $300. Month 8 expenses, $2,600. Month 9, 2750. I told myself it was fine. I was still under $3,000 a month. And I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living, building a relationship, experiencing Thailand properly. This was what I'd come here for, wasn't it? Not to eat street food alone in a studio apartment, but to actually have a life. Month 10, October 2024, Ploy mentioned her mother needed help with some medical bills. Nothing major, just some tests the hospital wanted her to get. 7,000 baht, about 200. I paid it without even thinking. Told Ploy not to worry about it. Happy to help. Month 11, her scooter broke down. Needed repairs, maybe a new engine part, she wasn't totally sure. The mechanic quoted 10,000 baht, about 300 baht. She was stressed about it. Said she'd have to save up, might take a few months. I paid for that too. Told her it was no problem, consider it an early Christmas present. Looking back now, I can see these were tests, small requests to see if I'd say yes, to establish the pattern. But at the time, it felt like what you do in a relationship. Your girlfriend needs help, you help her. That's normal. That's being a good partner. The problem was, the baseline spending had already increased. I wasn't eating street food anymore. I was at Western restaurants or nicer Thai places most days, coffee at good cafes instead of street carts, staying in hotels on weekends instead of hostels, the car instead of the scooter, the nicer apartment. Month 11 expenses, $2,800. Right around where I'd been for a few months, but that didn't include the one-off payment for Ploy's scooter. December 2024, I hit my 1-year mark in Thailand. Sat down to do my annual accounting like I used to do for tax season back in Portland. The numbers were brutal. I'd arrived with $130,000 in January 2024. It was now December, and I had $99,000 left. I'd burned through $31,000 in 12 months. My original budget was $21,600 for the year. $1,800 a month times 12. I'd spent $31,000. That's 43% over budget. Almost half again as much as I'd planned. I pulled up my old spreadsheet, the one I'd made in that Portland hostel during my reconnaissance trip. Rent budgeted at $230 actual, average $450. Food budgeted at $300, actual average $600 to $800 depending on the month. Transportation budgeted at $90, actual average $400 with the car. And then there was the category I'd labeled miscellaneous and budgeted at $200. That had ballooned to $800 to $1,200 a month between dating expenses, helping Ploy, replacing things that broke, medical costs, unexpected fees. I sat there at 2 a.m. staring at that spreadsheet, feeling this creeping sense of panic. My pension still wasn't sorted. The bureaucracy back in the States was a nightmare. I'd be 62 in February, so payments should start then, but I'd been counting on it for the past year, and it kept getting delayed. That meant I had no income, just savings. And those savings were draining faster than I'd ever imagined. At my current burn rate of $2,600 to $2,800 a month, and assuming my pension started in February at $1,850, I'd still be bleeding $800 to $1,000 a month from savings, even with the pension. Maybe more if I had any emergencies or unexpected costs. I should have been terrified. I should have made immediate drastic changes. But you know what I did instead? I talked myself down. Told myself the first year is always expensive. Settling in costs, learning curve. One-time purchases. I bought furniture, kitchen supplies, clothes for the different climate, a new laptop when mine died, deposits on apartments, agency fees, all that first-year stuff that wouldn't repeat. Year 2 would be leaner. I'd dial back the spending, get stricter with myself. The relationship with Ploy would stabilize, wouldn't need as much whining and dining once we were more established. I'd go back to eating Thai food more often, cut out some of the Western meals, maybe even downgrade the apartment, lose the car. I could fix this. It wasn't too late. And besides, I had Ploy now. I had a life here. I had friends, routines, a girlfriend who made me feel less alone. Going back to that monk lifestyle for my first 3 months would mean giving all that up. Living in isolation, eating crap food, miserable and counting every baht like a miser. What was the point of coming to Thailand if I was just going to be miserable? I made one half-hearted attempt at a YouTube video. Called it something like, First Year Costs in Thailand, What the Budget Videos Don't Tell You. Tried to frame it as educational, as me being honest about the real numbers. Filmed it, watched it back, hated how defensive I sounded. Posted it anyway, got maybe 150 views. Comments were a mix of supportive and, I told you so. One guy wrote, welcome to reality, mate, wait until year 2. Another said, so your $1,400 budget was bullshit after all. Typical. Dave from the cafe wrote, honestly, Vince, you're still doing better than most. Don't beat yourself up. I never made another video after that. Channel died at 12 uploads. Just couldn't face the comments, couldn't face admitting that all those bitter expats I'd dismissed had been right. By month 12, December 2024, I was spending $2,800 a month. I had $99,000 in savings. My pension application finally got approved. Payments would start in February when I turned 62. I should have seen what was coming. Should have recognized that I'd become exactly the type of expat I'd mocked a year earlier. Making excuses, rationalizing expenses, talking about quality of life, and you can't live like a monk forever. But I didn't see it, or I didn't want to see it. I had Ploy. I had a life that felt real, and I convinced myself that year 2 would be different, that I'd tighten up, get disciplined, make it work. I had no idea how much worse it was about to get, February 2025. I turned 62 and my pension finally started. That is $1,850 a month, direct deposited into my Thai bank account on the 1st of every month. It felt good to have income again. Real income, not just watching my savings drain. For about a week, I felt like I'd turned a corner. The pension would cover most of my expenses, I'd tighten up the spending a bit, and everything would stabilize. That fantasy lasted until I did the actual math. I was spending $2,800 to $3,000 a month. My pension was $1,850. That meant I was still bleeding $950 or $150 a month from my savings. Every single month, forever. I told myself it was temporary, that I'd cut back, that year two would be leaner like I'd promised myself. But I never did cut back, not really. Month 13, my expenses were $2,900. Month 14, March 2025, they hit $3,050. And then the insurance situation hit me. My cheap tourist health insurance had been $60 a month, basically catastrophic coverage. It expired when I turned 62, and when I tried to renew, they told me I needed to get a proper expat health insurance policy now that I was on a retirement visa. I shopped around, got quotes from half a dozen companies. The cheapest policy that covered anything useful was 5,000 baht a month, about 150. But here's the kicker. My knees and my back, the pre-existing conditions from 35 years of scaffolding, weren't covered by any of them. Not at any price I could afford. One company offered full coverage, including pre-existing conditions for 15,000 baht a month, about 450. That would have put me at 3,250 a month in expenses. I couldn't do it. So I took the basic policy at 150 a month that covered emergencies, accidents, new illnesses. Anything related to my knees or back, I'd be paying out of pocket. I just had to hope nothing went seriously wrong. Month 14. Expenses including the new insurance, 3,050. Around this time, things with Ploy started getting more serious, or at least more expensive. Month 16, May 2025. She came to me crying. Her mother needed surgery. Something with her gallbladder. I didn't totally understand the medical details, but it was serious. The hospital wanted 100,000 baht up front, about 3,000. The family didn't have it. They'd been saving, but they were still 60,000 baht short. Ploy was a mess. Tears streaming down her face, apologizing for even asking, saying she didn't know what else to do. Her mother was in pain. The doctors said it couldn't wait much longer, and she was the only one in the family with access to that kind of money through me. I sat there in my apartment looking at my bank balance. I had about 88,000 left in savings at that point. 3 grand was a big chunk, a really big chunk. But what was I supposed to do? Let her mother suffer? Let Ploy down when she needed me most? This was serious medical stuff, not a broken scooter. I transferred the money 100,000 baht, told Ploy it was okay, that I was happy to help, that this is what people do for each other. She hugged me and cried and thanked me about 100 times. Said she'd find a way to pay me back. I told her not to worry about it. I never saw a baht of it again. And I never asked about it either, because asking would have meant admitting to myself that maybe I'd been played, that maybe this wasn't love, it was economics. My savings dropped to 85,000. I was still spending about 2,900 a month on baseline expenses, meaning I was drawing roughly 1,050 a month from savings. At that rate, the 85,000 would last me 80 months, 6 years and change. I was 62 years old. 6 years would take me to 68. Then what? I pushed that thought away. Told myself something would change. The pension might increase with cost of living adjustments. I'd cut expenses. I'd figure it out. Then month 18 hit, July 2025, and everything went to hell at once. First, my visa agent screwed up my retirement visa renewal. I'd been using this agency that handled all the paperwork, charged me 5,000 baht, about 150, to deal with immigration so I didn't have to. They'd always been fine before. But this time, they submitted the wrong forms or forgot some document. I never got a clear answer. Immigration rejected the renewal. My visa was about to expire in 3 days, and I was suddenly looking at overstay penalties or worse. The agent said the only option was an emergency border run to Cambodia to reset everything, then come back and reapply properly. Cost me 28,000 baht all in, about 800. For the last-minute flights to Phnom Penh, 1 night in a hotel, the agent's emergency fee, and the expedited visa processing. I was furious, but I had no choice. Spent 2 days in Cambodia, came back, got my retirement visa sorted properly. 800 bucks just gone. Week later, the AC unit in my apartment died. Just stopped working in the middle of July, peak hot season, 100 degrees outside. I called the landlord. She came over, looked at it, said it was old and needed to be replaced. Said it wasn't her responsibility, that the lease said tenant pays for appliance repairs. I checked the lease. She was right. It was in Thai, and I'd never bothered to get it properly translated, not new AC unit installed. 20,000 baht, about 600. Then my knee gave out completely. I'd been feeling it getting worse for months. More pain, more stiffness, harder to walk. I'd been managing it with ibuprofen and trying not to think about it. But one morning in late July, I got out of bed and my right knee just buckled. Pain shot through my leg like someone had driven a nail through the joint. I couldn't walk, could barely stand. Spent 2 days basically crawling around my apartment before I finally admitted I needed to see a doctor. Went to a private hospital, Chiang Mai Ram. Nice place, English-speaking doctors, expensive as hell. The doctor took x-rays, did an exam, said I had severe cartilage damage and early arthritis, probably from decades of scaffolding work combined with age. Recommended physical therapy, possibly surgery down the line, but for now we could try steroid injections and a PT program to strengthen the muscles around the knee. My insurance didn't cover it. Pre-existing condition, the injection was 8,000 baht. The PT program was 12,000 baht for 10 sessions. Total, 20,000 baht, about 600. And the doctor said I'd probably need ongoing treatment, maybe another round of injections in a few months, possibly surgery eventually, that could cost 200,000 to 300,000 baht. I paid for the injection and the PT. What else was I going to do? I couldn't walk. Did the physical therapy. It helped some. I could walk again at least. But my knee still hurt every day and I knew this was just the beginning. The scaffolding work I'd done for 35 years was coming due, and I was going to be paying for it for the rest of my life. Month 18, total damage, visa emergency, 800, AC unit 600, medical 600. That's $2,000 in unexpected costs on top of my baseline 2,900. Month 18 total expenses, 4,900. My savings dropped to 76,000. I sat in my apartment that night doing math I didn't want to do. I'd been in Thailand for 18 months. I'd started with 30,000 and I had 76,000 left. I'd burned through 54,000 in a year and a half. That's 3,000 a month average. And that was with my pension covering 1,550 of it for the past 6 months. At this rate, my 76,000 would last me 25 months, 2 years. I'd be broke before I turned 65. And I couldn't go back. I'd burned that bridge, walked off a union job, sold everything, moved to the other side of the world. What was I going to do? Move back to Portland with no job, no apartment, no truck, and try to start over at 62 with whatever scraps of savings I had left? I was trapped. In Thailand, watching my safety net evaporate month by month, and I had no idea how to stop it. My YouTube channel had been dead for 6 months. I couldn't post budget videos when I was spending $3,000 a month plus emergencies. The whole Straight Talk Thailand thing felt like a joke now, a monument to my own arrogance. The relationship with Ploy was the only thing keeping me sane. At least I had someone. At least I wasn't completely alone in this mess I'd made. I should have seen what was coming with her too, should have recognized the pattern. But I was too desperate for the connection to look at it clearly. Month 18, July 2025. I was 62 years old, had 76,000 left in savings, was spending way more than my pension could cover, my body was breaking down, and I was starting to realize that every single one of those bitter expats I'd mocked 2 years ago had been right. The 1,000-month paradise was a lie. Or at least, it was a lie for someone like me. Maybe it worked for 25-year-olds who could sleep on hard beds and eat street food and ride scooters in traffic and live like backpackers forever. But I was 62 with bad knees and a bad back, and I needed AC and a Western toilet and decent food and a car and medical care and all the other basic dignities that cost real money. And I'd been too proud and too stupid to admit it until it was too late. Month 20, August 2025. Ploy broke up with me. We were sitting in my apartment, the AC humming, and she told me she needed to talk. Her exact words. I need to focus on my family right now. The age difference, it's too much. My parents don't approve. I just sat there. Didn't know what to say. She kept going. Said it wasn't about me, that I was a good man, that she'd always be grateful for my help with her mother. But she needed to think about her future, about finding someone closer to her age, about what her family expected. The timing was suspicious as hell. 2 weeks earlier, her brother had asked if I could help him buy a new phone, top-of-the-line iPhone, 40,000 baht, about 1,200. I'd said no, told Ploy I couldn't keep helping with every family expense, that I needed to watch my budget. Her interest cooled immediately after that. Stopped responding to messages as quickly. Canceled a weekend trip we'd planned. And now this. I don't know if she was using me the whole time, or if it started genuine and turned into something else. Maybe she did care about me at first. Maybe the need for money just became more important than whatever feelings she had. Or maybe I was just a 62-year-old Farang with money, and that's all I ever was to her. I'll never know. And honestly, it doesn't matter now. She left. I was alone. And the loneliness hit me like a truck. I'd gotten used to having someone, having plans, having a reason to leave the apartment besides buying groceries. Without Ploy, I was just another old expat sitting around Chiang Mai waiting for the day to end. Started going to bars in Niman, not the wild places, not walking street Pattaya stuff. Just expat bars. The kind where older Western guys sit on stools watching Premier League games on big screens, drinking Chang or Leo, making the same complaints to the same bartenders every night. First it was a couple beers after dinner, then it was most evenings, then it was 5-6 nights a week. The conversation was always identical. How expensive everything's gotten. How Thailand's changed. Remember when beer was 50 baht? Remember when rent was cheap? Remember when the baht was 40 to the dollar instead of 35? The government's cracking down on visas. Immigration's getting stricter. Girls aren't the same anymore. Nothing's the same anymore. I realized one night, sitting at a bar called the Highlander or the Sportsman or something equally generic, that I'd become exactly what I'd mocked 2 years ago. A bitter expat, complaining about costs, lamenting the good old days, spending money I didn't have, trying to fill time I didn't know what to do with. The guys I was drinking with were in the same boat, divorced, retired, alone, drifting. Some of them had been in Thailand 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. None of them seemed happy. They all seemed trapped. And I was one of them now. Bar tabs were running 30 to 50 a night depending on how long I stayed. 4 nights a week, that's 120 to 200 a week. 500 to 800 a month just sitting in bars drinking beer I didn't even enjoy, talking to people I didn't particularly like, watching soccer games I didn't care about. But what else was I going to do? Sit in my apartment alone? At least the bars had people. At least there was noise and distraction. Month 20 expenses, 3,200. Month 21, 3,300. Then month 22, November 2025, hit 3,400. I sat down and looked at where the money was going. Rent, 4,050, car, 400, food, 800, because I'd completely abandoned Thai food and was eating at Western places almost exclusively. Insurance, 150. Bars, probably 700 that month. Medical, 250 for more ibuprofen and some other meds for my knee. Phone replacement because mine died, $350. New clothes because mine were worn out, $200. Random other stuff that kept cropping up. 3,400 for November. My pension was 1,850. I burned through 55 TM savings that month alone. My savings were down to 62,000. I did the math. At current burn rate, I had 18 months of money left. A year and a half. I'd be completely broke by May 2027. I'd be 63 years old with $0 and a pension that didn't cover my expenses, even if I cut back to $3,000 a month, which seemed optimistic given that I couldn't seem to stop the bleeding. I was still 1,050 short every month. That meant my 62,000 would last 53 months, 4.5 years. I'd be broke at 67, and then what? Beg my ex-wife for help? Contact the union I'd walked out on? Move back to Portland and try to get welfare? Sleep on the street in Chiang Mai until they deported me? I was fucked. Completely and totally fucked, and it was entirely my own fault. January 2026, month 24. 2 years exactly since I'd landed in Thailand with my backpack and my spreadsheet, and my unshakable confidence that I'd figured out what everyone else had missed. I sat in my apartment at 2 a.m., laptop open, staring at my old budget spreadsheet next to my actual spending tracking. Budgeted rent, 230 CD. Actual average, $450. Budgeted food, $300. Actual average, $600. Budgeted transportation, $100. Actual average, $400. Budgeted medical, $0. Actual average, $200 to $500 depending on the month. Budgeted miscellaneous, $200. Actual average, $800 to $1,200 between bars, replacing stuff that broke, dating back when I had ploy, helping ploy's family, emergencies, visa fees, all the shit I never anticipated. Total budgeted, $1,800 per month. Total actual average over 2 years, $3,100 per month. I've been off by 72%. Not a little bit wrong. Catastrophically wrong. And here's what killed me. Every single expense made sense in isolation. The nicer apartment wasn't a luxury. It was a necessity for my knees and my sleep. The car wasn't frivolous. It was safety after the scooter accident. The better food wasn't indulgence. It was avoiding food poisoning and maintaining my health. The medical costs weren't optional. They were my body breaking down. The bars were pathetic, sure. But they were also the only social contact I had after Ploy left. Each individual decision was rational, but together they destroyed my plan. The 1,000 light month paradise. Guys on YouTube were full of shit. Or they were 25 years old with no health issues who could sleep on plywood beds and eat street food and ride scooters in traffic and live like backpackers indefinitely. Or they had undisclosed income. Or they were just lying for views and ad revenue. Nobody my age with my health issues was living comfortably in Thailand on 1,000 a month. It wasn't physically possible. Even 1,800 a month, my original budget, was fantasy. That assumed I'd stay healthy, stay alone, never need medical care, never have emergencies, never want comfort or community or basic human dignity. It assumed I'd live like a monk forever in that first shitty studio apartment with a squat toilet and no AC. And I couldn't do it. Nobody could do it long term without being miserable. The lifestyle creep wasn't weakness. It was the difference between existing and living. But I didn't have enough money to live. Not really, not sustainably. I'd come to Thailand with barely enough to exist if everything went perfectly, and nothing ever goes perfectly. I opened my old YouTube channel, looked at those first few videos, that smug asshole talking about common sense and discipline, showing his 1,400 monthly expenses like he'd discovered fire. 12 videos total. The last one from a year ago with 150 views and a bunch of told you so comments I'd never responded to. I should have listened to them. To Dave and the other expats who tried to warn me. To the guys in the Facebook groups who said, wait 6 months and you'll see. To every single person who'd been through this already and knew exactly how it would go. They weren't bitter losers. They were just further down the same road I was on. I wasn't going back to Portland. Too expensive. I had nowhere to go. I burned bridges. The weather alone would probably kill me at this point after 2 years of tropical heat. But I couldn't stay in Thailand like this either. Not sustainably. I was trapped between two impossible options, watching my money evaporate month by month with no good way out. 2 years in Thailand. Started with 130,000, down to 58,000, pension of 1,850 covering maybe 60% of my actual costs. This was my life now, and I had no idea how to fix it. So where am I now? February 2026. 2 years and 1 month in Thailand. I made some changes. Had to. The math wasn't working and I couldn't keep pretending it would magically fix itself. Moved to a cheaper apartment. Still has AC and a Western toilet because I physically can't live without those at my age. But it's smaller, older building. 11,000 baht instead of 12,000. Saves me about 30 a month. Not much, but something. Sold the car. Went back to the scooter despite my knees screaming at me every time I ride it. That's 400 a month back in my pocket. I go slower now, avoid the busy roads, pray I don't get hit again. Stopped going to bars. Cold turkey, that was the hardest part, honestly. Not the drinking, but the people. The noise. Having somewhere to go. But I was burning 600 to 800 a month sitting on bar stools talking to guys I didn't even like. Had to stop, started cooking at home more, not street food. I still can't handle that. But I buy groceries and make simple stuff. Pasta, rice dishes, eggs, chicken. It's boring as hell, but it's cut my food costs from 800 to maybe 500. Current monthly expenses, 2,600 to 2,700 depending on the month. Rent, 320, scooter 90, food 500, insurance under 50, medical usually 200 to 300 for my knee meds, and occasional doctor visits, utilities, phone, random stuff. My pension is 1,850, so I'm still bleeding 800 to 850 a month from savings. Current savings, 58,000. Do the math. At 850 a month, that's 68 months. 5.5 years. I'll be 67, almost 68, when the money runs out completely. And then what? I genuinely don't know. I've looked at my options, really looked at them. None of them are good. Option 1. Downgrade further. Go back to an 8,000 baht studio with no AC, squat toilet, the works. Eat street food only, no Western meals ever, no car, no scooter. Just walk everywhere, or take song they use. Cut out everything except bare survival. Might get my expenses down to 1,800, maybe match my pension, but I'm 61 years old with bad knees and a bad back. I physically cannot squat over a toilet anymore. I cannot sleep in 95-degree heat. I cannot eat street food 3 meals a day without getting sick. This option exists on paper but not in reality. Option 2. Find work. Teaching English under the table, online tutoring something. But I'm on a retirement visa. Working is illegal. I'd risk deportation. And honestly, who's gonna hire a 61-year-old with no teaching credentials and a body that's falling apart? Option 3. Move somewhere even cheaper in Thailand. Eason, maybe. Rural areas where rent is 4,000 baht and food is dirt cheap. But I'd be completely isolated. No expat community, no English speakers, no decent medical care. I'd save money, but I'd be utterly alone. Option 4, go back to the States, admit total failure. But I have nowhere to go. No job, no apartment, no vehicle. I burned my bridges with the union. My ex-wife wouldn't help me. I'd be broke in America instead of broke in Thailand. Except in America, I'd also be freezing and dealing with rain and snow that my body can't handle anymore. Option 5. Just keep going like I am. Hope something changes. Hope my health holds. Hope no major emergencies. Hope I can stretch 5.5 years into 10 somehow. Hope I die before the money runs out. I've chosen option 5. Not because it's good, but because the others are worse. I'm living lean, cooking at home, riding the scooter, staying in my apartment most days. No social life, no dating, no fun, just existing, watching my bank balance tick down month after month, doing the math over and over, hoping it comes out different. Here's the irony that kills me. I came to Thailand to escape financial stress and work burnout. And now I'm living with more financial anxiety than I ever had in Portland. At least back then I had a paycheck coming in. At least I had options. Here, I'm just counting down to zero. The real cost of living in Thailand isn't a number on a spreadsheet. It's what you actually spend when you're a real human being who gets sick, gets lonely, has a body that's breaking down. You need air conditioning when it's 95 degrees. You need a real toilet when your knees don't work. You need decent food when street vendors make you sick. You need medical care when your body's giving out. You need community and connection when you're alone in a foreign country. You need transportation that won't kill you. You need comfort, dignity, basic quality of life. And all of that costs money, real money. More money than those YouTube budget videos will ever tell you. Every expat I know went through the same thing. Arrive with a tight budget. Start upgrading piece by piece for legitimate reasons. Wake up 2 years later spending double what you planned. The difference is some people have enough money to absorb it. And some of us don't. I was in the second category. I just didn't know it until it was too late. The 1,000 like month paradise videos are lies. Or they're made by 25-year-olds who can rough it indefinitely. Or they're hiding other income. Nobody my age is living comfortably in Thailand on $1,000 a month. It's not possible if you want any kind of dignity. Even my 1,800 budget was fantasy. I based it on being a monk, being healthy, never getting sick, never being lonely, nor wanting comfort, living at absolute minimum forever. And you can't do that. Not long term. Not as a human being with actual needs. I don't completely regret coming here. It's still better than working myself to death in Portland or being broke in America. At least it's warm. At least my back doesn't hurt from scaffolding anymore. But I wish I'd been honest with myself about the real costs. Wish I'd brought twice as much money. Wish I'd come 10 years younger when I could have handled the rougher lifestyle. Wish I'd built in a real buffer for emergencies and medical and all the shit you can't predict. Most of all, I wish I'd listened to the guys who tried to warn me, the ones in the Facebook groups saying, wait 6 months. The ones commenting on my YouTube videos saying, you'll see. The ones I dismissed as bitter losers. They weren't losers. They were just further down the same road I'm on now. They'd already learned what I was about to learn, and I was too arrogant to listen. That's my story. That's the real cost of living in Thailand, not the numbers. The reality. I'm sitting here in Chiang Mai with 58,000 left, spending 850 more than I make every month, with no good options and no way out. 5.5 years until I'm broke, maybe less if something goes wrong, maybe a little more if I get lucky. And then I don't know what happens. That's where Vince's story ends. At least for now. He's still here in Thailand, living lean, hoping the money lasts, facing a future that gets more uncertain with every passing month. But his experience isn't unique. It's not even that dramatic compared to some stories you'll hear. No bar girl scam, no business partner who ran off with everything, no deportation, no dramatic collapse, just a slow financial bleed, the lifestyle creep that catches almost everyone. The gap between what you budget on paper and what you actually spend when you're trying to build a real life in a foreign country. And that might make Vince's story the most important one to hear. Because it's the most common. Thousands of Western men come to Thailand every year with similar savings, similar budgets, similar confidence that they've done their research and won't make the mistakes everyone else made. And most of them end up somewhere in Vince's territory. Not completely broke, not totally fine, just trapped in the middle, watching their safety net disappear faster than planned, caught between going back home where they can't afford to live and staying in Thailand where they're bleeding money they don't have. The lesson here is simple but brutal. Budget for what you'll actually spend, not what you think you could spend if everything goes perfectly and you live like a monk forever. Factor in medical costs for a body that's getting older. Factor in loneliness costs because humans need connection. Factor in comfort costs because you can't sleep on a hard bed in a hot room forever. Factor in aging costs because your body won't be able to handle what it could 10 years ago. Factor in emergency costs because shit happens. If your plan requires you to live at absolute minimum for decades, with zero cushion and no margin for error, that's not a plan, that's a prayer. And prayers don't pay bills when your AC dies or your knee gives out or your visa agent screws up, or you just need to eat food that doesn't make you sick. And if someone on YouTube is telling you they live in paradise for $1,000 a month, ask yourself one question. Why are they making YouTube videos for ad revenue if their financial situation is so dialed in? This is Thailand. Paradise has a price tag. Make sure you can actually afford it before you burn your bridges and buy that one-way ticket. See you next time.